My friends, welcome to another episode of Diner Talks with James. I'm James, super excited to be here with you all today. We have Lauren Adams, Lauren Conlon Adams, LCA. We're going to figure out what she likes to be called nowadays, but I'm super excited. Lauren and I have known each other since I'm going to say 2008-ish, and when we met in the New York City improv scene, and I'm excited to make her feel uncomfortable and tell her a story about that in just a minute, but she is an outrageous human being, a badass woman, and you may recognize her. She played Gretchen on Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Casual. She's also been on Modern Family, and she's been on a whole bunch of other badass movies and shows, and she tours around and does improv around the country with a group called Baby Wants Candy, which is just an adorable name. And as someone with the new baby, I agree. But either way, my friends, I'm super excited for you all to meet her. She is just a gem. Let's bring her out here right now. The one, the only, Lauren Adams.
Hi.
What's up, friend?
Hi, friend. All those nicknames are great. I go by LA, I go by LCA, I go by Lauren, I go by Lar. My husband calls me LaRon James. So
perfect.
You know, we got all those options.
LaRon James. When the first time that he dropped that, did you hit him with the no? Absolutely not. and therefore it stuck, or what happened there?
I think it just came in. I think like the first time I kind of noticed it, and then it just really it's entered the chat. It really has made its way in. So
that's incredible. That's the quickest way to earn a nickname, is tell somebody you don't want to be called it.
Yeah.
That's not going to work.
Permanent.
No, it is. Sorry, boo boo. I love it. Yeah. Lauren, you and I met on the casual streets of New York City in the improv community. Now, as someone who lived in New York for a very long time, as I did you find yourself growing fond of a good old New York diner?
I love them. I like every apartment I lived in. I had my diner that I would go to. Yes. That I could walk to, you know? And like, I knew the special, like when I lived in Astoria, it was Sanford's. And if you went before 10, it was $5 for like 2 eggs, a meat, a toast, and a beverage. $5 before 10.
New York prices. That's crazy.
And you can't, I usually asked for mint tea, but you could only get Lipton tea with the $5 special. And then when I lived on 43rd Street, the Westway Diner was right around the corner. And so, you know, same thing, before 11 o'clock, they had like a $6.99 special. So, and then in Brooklyn,
that's like Queens versus Manhattan pricing right there.
Right there. You know, I'm getting premium in Midtown.
$2 up.
Exactly.
Same kind of food.
And then in Brooklyn, it was Tom's Diner, which I don't think is the one. Is it the one from the Suzanne Vega song? Is that the one? I don't know. It is a legendary diner.
Yes.
I don't know if it's the one from the song. People say it is. I don't want to make false statements on your diner podcast. But that diner is awesome because there would be a line back in the before when we could gather, but they would bring you samples in line. So you'd wait in line and they'd bring around a tray, and there would be like little sausages on a toothpick, and you could take one, or French fries and you could take one, or Oreos or orange slices. And so you'd wait in line and they'd like bring you little treats to make the wait nice, or you could get a coffee too and have it online. So I loved, it was like, part of it was like, I hope there's a line so I can like have little samples.
Yeah, for sure. Who doesn't like a sample? It's the reason why Costco still exists.
Oh God.
Let's be honest. But yeah, Tom's Diner is just one of those iconic New York diners. It's been around forever. Not to be confused with Tom's from Seinfeld, right? Which is on the on the Upper West Side. But it is just an iconic spot. I went there with a mutual friend and previous guest Douglas Wydick. And he and I love to go. We try to find the oldest spots that are still in existence, right? Like Bamonte's Italian spot that's been around since like 1904. And that's what we do. We find the old spots and we check them out.
Tom's is good.
Tom's is classic.
You get an egg cream, and also they have like specialty butters that come with their pancakes. It's like a mango butter.
Yeah. Go on.
You don't expect a diner like that to be like, and we have a mango butter, but they have a delicious mango butter, cinnamon sugar butter, and a pumpkin butter. And then they have the 2x2x2, which is 2 eggs, 2 meats, 2 pancakes.
Yeah.
That's a perfect breakfast.
Perfect. Call it a lumberjack in some places, I think.
Yeah. 2x2x2.
I love it. I would say that diners and delis are like at the top of my list of what I miss about New York
Yeah.
City. They're probably the energy, and then diners and delis right underneath them.
I would agree, especially like the deli, the corner bodega, the corner store. It's like any time of day you can go get a bacon, egg, and cheese. It doesn't matter if it's 4 p.m, if it's 2 a.m, if it's 9 a.m, and it's good and it's cheap.
Yes. Yeah,
and it's
for
good
sure.
and it's cheap. And that's just like in LA, that culture doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, because LA is like a sleepy big city. Like I remember I took pottery when I first moved here to try to like meet people. I guess, I don't know. I had a ton of friends, but I was like, you should do something to make the transition fun. And it feels different than New York. And pottery went from 6 to 9. And I was like, oh, I'll just eat dinner after. Cause like 6 is too early. Everything was closed. At 9 o'clock, I was like struggling to get dinner. So I would just have to have something at home because I couldn't like pick up food or anything because everything closed on Monday before 9. And I was like, all right, well, this is a sleepy big town. So they don't have the like up all night need bacon, egg, and cheese at any time of day kind of situation. Yeah. It's not a thing here.
It's so weird. And in New York, you had that one of my favorite sentences of all time, which is "I got a guy," right? I got a guy, right? Yeah. And you got your people. I feel like LA is not really like that. I mean, maybe the only time I've heard that in LA is I got my taco guy. I got my taco spot.
Yeah,
and that's the only time where I got a spot where I get my tacos.
Yeah,
and that's it. Or a lot of friends of mine in LA, they're like, oh yeah, whenever we have a family party, we got a taco guy that comes over and they make the tacos.
People do have that in LA.
It's incredible.
You'll be at a party and they'll be like, we got the guy, and you're like, wait, someone's just making fresh tacos? That is kind of a special thing where you're like, they're just making unlimited tacos back there?
Yes.
Yeah, that is. I've been to a couple parties like that where I'm like, what? They got a little plancha. They've got the like flat top grill and it's delicious.
Outrageous. It's outrageous.
Yeah, LA, you're your own guy in LA, kind of. Like in New York, you leave your house and you walk and you get a coffee and you have your coffee spot that you're likely going to every day, whether it's a cart or it's, the fancy, pour over spot. But in LA, we make coffee at home just because there's no walk happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And the drive would be brutal just to get a cup of coffee.
It would take forever because you would drive and then you'd have to park and then you have to wait and nothing's fast here. Like everyone's waiting in line. I remember moving here and being like, are you kidding me? I had to tell myself, like, you don't have anywhere to go. Like, you're not late for something. Like, relax. Because you wait in line and I'm planning, while I'm waiting in line, I'm going, okay, here's what I'm going to order. So I get up and I go like, can I get a oat milk latte and a everything bagel croissant? And the people are waiting in line. And then they get up there and they go like, oh, what do I want? And I was like, we just waited in line for 20 minutes. What do you mean, what do you want?
What have you been doing?
Yes. And so I would have to really talk to myself and be like, Lauren, you got to chill. You need to like drink some of this LA, like cool vibes, Kool-Aid, because you don't have anywhere to go. You're not going to miss your Q train. There is no Q train.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about from since I met you, you're a badass East Coast girl on a mission, right? And like, I mean, you're from Maryland, born and raised. Where in Maryland are you from?
Oh, I'm born in Washington, D.C.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, get it right. No.
Way to do your research, James.
Your research is they're basically the same. DC's land for Maryland and Virginia. So I was born in DC and then raised in Montgomery County, which is like just kind of a DC suburb. It's a nice place to be from. Specifically, a town called Potomac, which is has a Real Housewives franchise now, which is really weird. Which is so strange. It's just a really nice place. It's a nice little DC suburb.
Yeah,
I
love it.
Normal.
So I mean, growing up East Coast, and I mean, there is a pace difference. Right. I currently live in Minnesota. It's where my partner's family's from, and so we moved out here to be around her family and start one of our own. And the pace difference out here in the Midwest, Minnesota nice is a thing, and people love to apologize out here for things they don't need to apologize for. So and I feel like we spend most of the conversation talking about why an apology didn't need to happen. happened. And I need to just get over that.
Yes.
Right?
And then you're apologizing for apologizing.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to apologize for that. Oh, I'm sorry. And it's like, no, stop.
Yeah, it's vicious. It is vicious. And I'm an unapologetic New Yorker. How you doing? Watch your mouth. And so I'm coming in here, shooting straight facts, and a lot of people aren't ready for it. I sent an item back the other day. I ordered a grilled cheese at this restaurant, and I was with my boy who's grew up in like rural Wisconsin out here, and the grilled cheese was burnt. I didn't order well done grilled cheese.
I was like, how did a grilled cheese get screwed up? But that's literally the only way.
They burnt it. Either they didn't cook it at all or it was burnt. There's the only two ways you mess up a grilled cheese.
Yeah.
So I sent it back and he's like, what are you doing, dude? I said, this is trash. I said, this is what they messed up a grilled cheese. How are they doing that? They're burning the bread. And he's like, man, he's like, I don't know. He's like, I'm uncomfortable right now. He's like, my blood pressure's rising a little bit. He's like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, well, don't apologize to the waiter when he comes back.
Because having been a server for a really long time, I wouldn't bring a burned thing to a table. I would like look at the kitchen and be like, there's no way I'm taking this.
There's no way.
There's no way unless you, James, had said, I want my grilled cheese burned, which listen, I've had people order weird shit. I'm not taking that to the table.
No.
Or if I try to sneak it in because we're busy and I just don't know what else to do, or I don't see it and it gets to the table without me, like if it just gets run to the table, I'm apologizing and going like, yeah, of course you don't want this burnt ass grilled cheese. Let me take it back to the kitchen. Of course you don't want that.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Did the waiter seem like, yeah, of course you want a new one?
He was also a little bit shocked. Like you can tell that this is not something that happens often. And so at some point I actually did. I was like, I'm really sorry. I was like, the whole thing is just literally crumbling.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got.
Let me say this as a PSA to you and everyone else, as someone who is a waitress for nearly a decade in New York City. I would much rather you let me make it right while you're in the restaurant than you eat or don't eat a burnt grilled cheese and go write a bad Yelp review. So like, give me the opportunity to make it right in the restaurant and say, hey, this is a little too burned for me. Could I have could you fire it again or whatever? And you're not going to say fire it again because that's the lingo, but could you make me a new one? Because I would rather make it right and be like, absolutely, I'm so sorry. Let me get you a new one and have you A, tip me nice, and B, go write me a nice little Yelp review and say like, Lauren was great. She fixed my burned grilled cheese.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's it. Alas, confrontation, not people's love language frequently. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Well, I'm glad we had the PSA. That was important that we got to that.
You need it.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for that. I was wondering when it was going to come up, but I'm glad we hit it early. So now we don't have to worry about it. We can move on.
Get Lauren off her restaurant soapbox.
So I love it because yes, you worked in restaurants in New York for a while. Before that, so you went Maryland to Elon. Elon University, a university in Alamance County in North Carolina. Fun fact, my dad has 4 hole-in-ones, which is kind of ridiculous, but pretty impressive. And he has 4 hole-in-ones. One of those was at the Alamance Country Club in North Carolina. He had a client down there and he got a hole-in-one. So that's the first time I had heard about Alamance.
I mean, not many people have. So the fact that you have a personal connection.
Come on now.
That's crazy.
But there was a battlefield there. I mean, it's a significant place in the history of the country. But still, Elon, stunning campus, stunning students. They paint their grass, they clip their ducks' wings so they can't fly away, and they're more picturesque. But it is a special place. Did you enjoy your time down south?
I did. I loved Elon. I was a music theater major there, and I loved the school. I only applied to Elon. I didn't apply anywhere else. It was, I had a really great time. I was like, I feel like I maybe went to a different school than a lot of people because I was a theater major. Like, I was with a bunch of weird people, and that's where I prefer to be, is with a bunch of weird people. And I don't think I actually knew that I preferred weird people until I went to Elon. Cause I joined a sorority when I got there, and because it felt like all girls school. I went to all girls Catholic high school and middle school, and like a sorority kind of felt like all girls school. And then I was like, a little less into Greek life than I thought. Cause you're a Greek person.
Sure. Yeah.
I was a little less into Greek life than I thought, and a little more into like weird theater stuff than than I expected to be. So I feel like I maybe had a different experience than a lot of people do at Elon.
And that's
Just
Southern
in the
Greek
liberal
life.
arts track.
Yeah.
Southern Greek
Southern
life
Greek life is a
different.
whole nother level. Yeah.
It really is.
Get your pearls out.
I mean, yes. Are you kidding? Yes. For real.
I love it. But yeah, it is totally a different experience. But yeah, I think certainly being in the theater department there, you were unlike a lot of your peers. And I guess my first question for you, since I haven't asked one yet, is when did theater come into your life? Like, when did you know? Was it, did you start doing the plays in elementary school at a local theater, or like when did you fall in love with singing, theater, and stuff like that?
Yeah, pretty young. I mean, like I did like dance and stuff when I was a little, like 5 and 6, and I loved that. We have like a video of like my first dance recital, and I'm like, there's rules to the routine, and we're like doing a routine, and one little girl like goes the wrong way, and I like turn her and kind of shove her off in the right direction. I'm like, you're going the wrong way. Which feels sort of spot on for me. I kind of knew I wanted to do this like at 7. I remember going to theater camp and just loving it. And then I used to look up auditions in the Washington Post, like art section. Auditions used to come out on Thursdays and Sundays in the art section. And my mom was never a stage mom. She is like works in human resources and is like a boss business lady. And she was like, listen, and now she's a grief counselor. She's not in our industry at all. She's was not pushing stage mom life or not pushing actor life for me. But she was like, if you want to do this, if this is something you want to do, you have to do it. And I'll drive you wherever you want. I'll take you to the voice lessons. I'll take you to the dance classes. I'll take you to the play rehearsals. But if you want to do this, you have to do it. So you have to sign up for the auditions. So like my little 7-year-old self would call and like make an audition appointment for myself and like memorize a monologue. And like which I think helped me later in life, so that I really had to do it. It had to be something I wanted to do. It had to be very self-motivated. So. Yeah,
that's beautiful. At the time, were you appreciative of your mom? Like, oh, I get it. That makes a lot of sense. Or were you like, come on, mom?
I don't think either. I think I was just like, okay, I don't think I understood it was like a life lesson. I think it was just like, okay, I got to do this. So I just had to do it. So I think it was like, if I want to do it, I do it. And like, yeah, she did. She upheld her end of the bargain. She drove me to all the stuff and she paid for the dance classes and the voice lessons. And so now I'm super appreciative. I don't think I had the like global view as a 7-year-old. And I also don't think I was like, God, my mom's such a jerk. She won't call and make my appointments. I just did it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And is that something that is carried into today? Like that kind of work ethic of like, if I want it, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I would say that it hasn't been that way in 2020. I felt very unmotivated in 2020 and into 2021. But yeah, I think so. I think that like I work hard and I don't mind doing what it takes to like get stuff. In 2020, you did a lot of self tapes as an actor. You had to like do it all yourself because you weren't going into casting offices. And like sometimes my agents would write or my managers would write and be like, hey, can you redo this? And I think sometimes they're like, oh, is it okay if we ask you to redo this? And I was like, yeah, I don't have an ego about it. I want to do the best job and I want to book the job. So like, I don't have an ego about it. It stinks and it's like a slog, but I'm never like upset or mad. I'd rather have the feedback and do a good job than just like the grilled cheese.
The through line is right there.
The PSA, I'd rather you let me get it right while I have you than like send something bad to casting or go off and say like, that wasn't a good tape. Like, let me get it right. Sometimes I'm human. Sometimes I miss the mark. I don't have a director. I'm like operating on my own. I'd rather have a casting director like giving me tweaks. So I'm always happy to like get the feedback and make it right.
Yeah. You're great at taking the note, right? Like, let me take the note and let me put it in. And
literally my only job.
What you pay me to do.
That's a theater thing. I think, I don't know that for sure, but having come up in theater, when you get notes in theater, you say, thank you.
Yes.
So it's like, I learned that early on, where it'd be like, hey, Lauren, we need you to pick up the pace on this line, or you're dropping this. And I go, thank you. That's how you tell a director you heard their note. You thank them for the note.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that instilled an appreciation in me, but you say thank you to notes.
Yeah. That is fast. I hadn't thought about that. Like in all the theater that I did growing up, that is exactly how you approach that. It is thank you, and let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
And I will take the note, and here we go. You are the director. This is your vision. Here we go.
Yeah.
That's a fast. I had not thought about that, but yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's super fun. So, okay. So we started dancing, 4, 5, 6 years old. We love that. We're getting into theater. We're signing up for our own auditions at 7, calling in with the squeaky voice, making it happen. And I love it. So did it become the dream that early? And was the dream acting in any way, or was the dream like a specific like a role on Broadway? What was it for you? Like was the screen in your purview at that point, or was it just theater?
At 7, I think it was just theater. Like, I don't think I knew how to do the other job. I don't think I knew how to be like a TV and film person. I do remember loving my sitcoms and being like, sitcoms are so fun because it's kind of like a long play. Like, you get to really work on that character for a long time. I remember thinking that as a kid and being like, if you booked Phoebe Buffay on Friends, like, you get to do a play as Phoebe forever and like do all this cool character work and like make choices for her and really like live in her point of view. And I remember thinking that was really fun. It really wasn't until I got to UCB, and I like remember my 101 teachers were Lennon Parham and Bobby Moynihan. And it wasn't until
casual start.
they taught my intensive, the two of them. And I remember like then Bobby was coaching our like indie group, Day Stallion. Shout out to Day Stallion, my first indie improv group. And he was like auditioning for SNL at the time. And Lennon booked like a sitcom. And I remember going like, oh, I saw this really clear trajectory that like, if I did this and I worked really hard in this system, I could potentially book a TV job. And I could at the very least book a ton of commercials, because I'd watch TV and be like, that person's a teacher at UCB. That person's a teacher. That person's on a house team. That person's on Harold Night. I saw that person in a show last week. And I saw that person. Like, that's just how it, especially in like 2007, when I started, I feel like everybody was on everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. So you started in 2000. So we started at UCB the same year, which is awesome.
We took like musical 101 together.
Mm-hmm.
That was our, I think that's where we met in that class.
I agree. And here's what I remember. And this may be slightly uncomfortable, so stick with me. But I met, like you said, there's a lot of really cool people around at UCB, and it's really exciting. And I'm like, oh shoot, like you said, this person's there, or I saw this person on a whatever commercial, and like exactly what you just said. And, but when you're with your peers, and fellow students, you're kind of looking around like, who's booking the next commercial, right? Like who's like where, like who's gonna be what, who's gonna make it, and do what. And I remember being so intimidated by you. You had an immense amount of talent. And here's where it came from, or for me at least, or what I witnessed, and I was like, oh shoot! And watching Lauren Adams do her craft, I was like, I need to level up, because there was this edge to you, and it was the trained actor in you, right? And like whenever you dove the hell into a character. It was incredible to watch. I mean, a lot of people break all the time, but like your ability to sink in, and then you just have this stunning voice, and it was. I remember being like, okay, that is someone that I need to hang out with, that I need to like stay close to, because they're going somewhere. Like just the poise that you had, even at that point in 2007, 2008, right? Baby Wants Candy auditions, which is a nationally touring musical improv team, and whatnot. It was incredible to witness. And there was this moment where I truly was like, Lauren is going somewhere. And if she doesn't, the system's rigged.
The system is rigged, for sure.
Good,
like,
good.
Sometimes the most talented people, sometimes the most talented people are just still like in a basement in New York doing comedy. And it's the system sucks because it's not always, it's not a meritocracy and it's not always merit-based. It is sometimes, but sure, not always. And thank you for saying that. It's interesting. I think I got away with maybe being an actor for a while at UCB. And then I hit a level where I was like, oh, maybe I'm not funny. Maybe I'm just like committed.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember getting a note from Chris Gethard that was like, you're doing everything right. It's just maybe too right. And I don't know what you think is funny. You're like doing a good job, but maybe you aren't doing a funny job because maybe you just need to like relax. And maybe you do need to break on stage a little bit. Maybe you do need to like make a dumb move that isn't the right move to just like, I don't know, shake yourself up. And so it's interesting because I do think I got away with a lot of like just being a good actor for a long time. And I could like, if somebody was like labeled me as a little kid, I would take the note and play the best little kid I could. Or yeah. And sometimes that did get comedic results because like, if I can really play the best little kid and I'm playing it truthfully, you will get a comedic result. But sometimes it's just a scene and then it's not funny. And then, we're not like building on a comedic idea. So I think that like that being an actor got me so far. And then I had to like really dig into like a scary thing, which was like not hiding behind a little kid or a mom, but like what Lauren Adams, thought was funny or silly or cool to play with.
Yeah.
Which is a little scary because it's revealing. And then if nobody laughs at that, then you're not funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah. And then the world's a dark place.
And then you're not funny. So
that's what happens.
Why have you spent money on improv classes? So
yeah, right. Exactly. Cool. Mom, any HR positions open under you?
I'm an HR nightmare.
I got a note almost on the exact opposite side of the spectrum where I'm a character player, right? Like I love to play big characters, funny voices, and just, I don't know, I just play big. That's my insecurity. When I'm insecure, I go big, right?
Yeah.
And so it's funny, like extroverts and introverts, we often confuse extroverts with confident, but that's not always, they are not synonyms. The loudest person in the room is frequently not the most confident.
Exactly.
And so I would play these big buffoon type characters. And I was told by Will Hines and a couple others, Eric Tenoy and some others, that it's like, James, you are playing caricatures, not characters.
Yeah.
There's not enough you in them. And so it was fascinating. I also got a note from Gethard that was like, it don't feel like you're vulnerable on stage, right? Where it's not, I don't know anything about you. And through any of these places. And so naturally I fired them all as teachers and said, well, I'll show you.
Yes, men. Thank you.
No, but I remember those notes really hit me. And it's ironic because now you fast forward in life and I'm a professional speaker that talks about vulnerability and authenticity for a living. Right. And in those moments, I totally got their note and it made sense to me. But I couldn't get out of my own way in the moment. I was like, I get it, but I don't know how to do it yet.
And it is a little bit fear-based, don't you think? Because it's like you, James, I remember you once in one class I took with you, maybe it was a Gethard class. Did we take a Gethard little 4-week thing together? Because it doesn't feel like it was musical improv because it feels too exposed. But I think I remember you talking about in a class about like what fashion for you was a little bit hiding.
Yes.
Like getting dressed up was a little bit hiding it was like a little bit of like a costume and a persona for confidence.
Yes.
And I remember you talking about that in a class and that feels a little too heavy for a musical improv class, but maybe it was.
No, it was Gethard. Yeah, I remember that.
It was that Gethard 4-week thing that we did, which was
Yeah.
like very exposed. And that's where I got those notes about like, you're cleaning up messes great and you're getting things on track great and you'll always jump out and you're doing everything technically correct. But like, we need you to maybe mess it up a little bit and like maybe let other people clean up the mess, which is so my life. I'm a fixer. I'm a cleaner. I'm a push the little girl in the right direction around the little dance circle because the dance is getting messed up. But like, you know, life isn't that. It's stressful for me to clean up everyone's mess and it's more fun for me to play. So, you know, but yeah, that must've been that Gethard class. That was another class we took together. But yeah, I remember you saying that you like get life's, it's weird. And I feel like I'm preaching the cult of improv again. But it did give me like some sort of life therapy moments a little bit.
100%. Well, I mean, you and I are easly the quickest to be like, no, everybody needs to take an improv class. I don't care what your profession is. You don't need to be a professional improviser, but like everybody needs to take one class because getting pushed into that state of uncomfortability and realizing that you're going to be fine is so beautiful. And you're better conversationalist after it. You're better at listening. You're better at hitting your points and you're also just more forgiving, right? You realize that like, this isn't the end, right?
Mistakes are just parts of the journey rather than, it's not the end all be all. Yeah.
It's such a beautiful tool. And so, yeah, that's awesome. I'm wondering for you, that's such a powerful thing to recognize about yourself, that you are the fixer, that you are I'm going to help the little girl around the circle and whatnot. And that you also said in that phrase, you said that like, but that's a weight that I carry. Yeah. And that's something that you put pressure on yourself to do that. Have you relieved yourself of some of the things that you're carrying? Have you noticed yourself? Can you catch yourself when you're doing it a little bit quicker, or is it still something that you struggle with?
All of that.
Great. Next question.
I am all of that next. No, I'm in therapy forever. That's
Same here.
Thank goodness for my therapist. I love her so much. And it is something that I've worked on. I lost my dad when I was 18. And I think I really stepped into a parent role for my younger siblings in a weird way because, my mom was dealing with a lot of grief and now she's a grief counselor. Like she's really like come into this new space for herself. But, it's hard to lose the love of your life and also then have to raise 3 kids perfectly. And I think I was 18 and felt grown and I am bossy and I am like responsible and a fixer. And I come from a long line of fixers. Like I talked to a bunch of my aunts. They did like a little documentary about growing up in their household of 8 kids. And I was like the person who asked questions. And I heard every single one of them talk about my grandmother and say, Dorothy was incredible. She could fix any problem. And they all said that. And then I went, oh my God, you're all fixers. I'm a fixer. My sister's a fixer. This niece is a fixer. Like all the women in our family, we just get this like trauma of being responsible for everyone, like kind of kicked down on you. And so I really have tried to step back. And especially with my husband, like sometimes people are sad and they just need to be sad. And they don't need me to go like, okay, well, you know how we can get out of this, and this. And then we don't have to feel sad and we can feel good. But like, that ain't life. You have to feel rich. You have to feel sad stuff and happy stuff. And like, I know when I'm sad, sometimes I just want to be sad. Like you just need someone to go like, I'm so sorry you're sad. That sucks. Yeah. And I get sad too. And it's hard to be sad. And I'm really sorry. You don't need somebody to go like, how can we get you out of this? How can we get you out of this fast? And I'm working on it. Like I work on it a lot with my sister, my little sister, who's my best friend. Like sometimes I would see her, like what I would say was like making a mistake in life. Like, oh, don't date that person, or, oh, don't take that job, or, oh, you're staying out too late, or, oh, you're drinking too much. And my therapist would be like, she's in her 20s. Didn't you drink too much in your 20s? And I was like, yeah, but she doesn't need to because I did it and it was bad. It made me feel bad, right? Yeah. I don't want her to. And she's dating the wrong person. And my therapist was like, well, haven't you ever dated the wrong person? And are you okay now? And did it lead you to a better person? And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess like we all have a dumb boyfriend we dated in college. It's okay that she has a dumb boyfriend she's dating or whatever it was. Yeah. I'm making my sister look like a real idiot. She's way smarter and more capable than I am. But just as an example, it was like, oh yeah, Casey's got it. Like, I do think my sister is smart and capable. So like when I overly fix, not only am I making myself stressed, but I'm also telegraphing to the people in my life that I don't think they got it. And I think you got it. Like, my husband is like an incredible partner and an adult and a great human being. And like, he's out of town this week and I'm like, oh God, Seth takes care of so much stuff. It's like, he doesn't need me to fix it. He's got it. And my sister is also so smart and capable and wonderful and warm. Like, she's got it. Yeah. And in an improv scene, I should think my partners are all geniuses and I can say they got it. They don't need me to swoop in and say like, I have a better plan.
Yeah.
Because people got it.
Because people got it. What a lesson. Yeah. I love that. I don't know if you're someone who likes to take personality tests and whatnot. Have you done the Enneagram?
My husband and I said he was living in Nashville before he moved to LA, and Enneagrams are huge in Nashville. He's taken it. I want to text him while we're on and ask him what he thinks I am. What's your Enneagram type?
I'm a 2, and which basically means that like I'm a caretaker. I'm driven by relationships, and so I don't have boundaries because I just need everybody to like me, and so I just just keep helping, but then I get lost, right? I'm not good at taking care of myself, and so it's so interesting to hear what you just shared about, we have different people in our lives for different reasons. And I think we all have those friends that we know if we want a certain response, we can go to so-and-so. Right. And so we know we have that fixer friend, right? Or if you're ever going through a relationship that's ending, that person that's like, oh, screw that dude. He sucks. You deserve better. And then you have that other person that's like, well, I'm really sorry that you're hurt. Right. You just have those different folks. I remember I had a roommate in college. His name was Jake, and Jake was a good man. He was a quiet soul. And Jake, I would come back from having a long day and maybe some frustrating things happen. I would sit on the couch and we'd play Madden on Xbox. And I would just tell Jake about my day, and he wouldn't say a thing 30, 40 minutes. And then by the end of the conversation, I would kind of be done. And he would just like pause the game and he would turn to me and be like, James, that sounds like it sucks, man. And I was like, thank you, Jake. Yes. Right. Like Jake never had a solution. Couldn't fix a damn, like could barely find his socks in the morning. Like couldn't fix a damn thing. But Jake just poured out just a good amount of empathy of like that.
Yes.
And everybody needs a that sucks person.
Because we all go through stuff that sucks. We all feel sad. We all feel angry. And all of that's okay. Yeah. Like what's not okay is like acting badly if you feel those things towards other people, like hurting other people because you feel those things is bad, but feeling them, I say, okay, we all do. We got to get it out. So you had a Jake who could just like take your shit and go like, I'm sorry, that sucks. And that's what you need, someone to hold space for that.
That's all I needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's something my husband never named. Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Do you respond?
My husband, he said he's not totally sure, but he said, I'm a counter type 7 or a social 7. So they said sometimes, it tends to mistype with Enneagram 2, but they're generous, have a strong desire to be of service, to create a better world, will sacrifice their own needs to serve the needs of a group or a person they support. I feel like they're reading me. And they can be judgmental regarding selfishness in themselves or others, and they hope to be appreciated for their sacrifice. I mean, yeah, that's me. That's very much me. That scared me. That scared me a little bit.
We're now at an awkward point at the moment. That's so funny because when I look at the Enneagram types, I test as a 2, but 7 is what resonates with me.
I mean, he said sometimes they get mistyped as a 2. So
for sure. So
I grew up Catholic too. So like that social justice, like creating a better world guilt burns a strong fire in my soul. And I like, if anything good happens to me, I'm like, okay, you better offset the scale. You better do something good for someone else. Yeah, like I really
Dorothy
feel
Day inside of you.
I mean, like Dorothy might be a ghost haunting me because I cannot escape her message. I love Dorothy Day, but it's like, I love her. And I do love that. Like, I don't consider myself religious. but I do love that Catholic social justice. And I am really proud that that part of Catholicism really sticks with me.
Yeah.
And I really feel proud to help other people and to like encourage community. That makes me feel really good.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. And it's very evident. It's evident in your social media and your presence. And even, I mean, I asked you if you had a website and you said, I don't have a website. But can instead of listing my website, can you put the website to the LA Food Bank, right?
My initials are LA anyway. So,
I mean, the shoe literally fits. But so the thing is, right? Like, I don't have a website, but just tell people to go donate here. So friends, donate to the LA Food Bank.
$1 helps. $1 helps. If you can donate $1 a month and they have a reoccurring monthly $1 donation, or $5 every 6 months, reoccurring donations help organizations like the LA Food Bank so much because they can just plan and they know what money's coming down the pipe. Reoccurring donation of $5 a month for 10 months is better than a one-time $50 donation.
There it is, friends. There it is. Get on here. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. But yeah, I mean, you are someone who has used your platform and not been shy about it. And like truly, I mean, you're a big social justice advocate, big get out and vote advocate, and not shy about who your candidate of choice was and whatnot. And so this is interesting because you are someone who has achieved success. And I do have a couple of questions about Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, but we'll come back to that. But you have, obviously you're on this iconic show. It was just so damn good. And with a lot of other badass human beings. And you've been on Modern Family and you've been on this other play. You've done really cool things. So you've achieved this level of success, but I know you're not done yet. And I know that you're still hungry. I believe you're still hungry. We'll talk about it. But no matter what, on your way up in whatever level of celebrity status or whatever level of just being out there in front of more and more people, influencing more and more, there are some individuals who, when they're on the climb, play everything close to the vest because they don't want to upset anybody. Right. They're like, well, I don't want to ostracize any part of my audience. I don't want to potentially lose followers or seem too political for maybe a director that's trying to do this, but doesn't want my baggage with them. And so we see individuals play a lot of that stuff close to the vest. We see it all the time. And you have made a conscious choice to say, fuck that. Right. Yeah. And you have very much worn it on the sleeve. And by sleeve, I mean social media and the way and how outspoken you are about the causes that you believe in. Tell me about that choice. And I mean, I think a great lead in with Dorothy Day and some of the social justice work in Catholicism, as you were just mentioning. But yeah, tell me a little bit about that choice, because it was a choice.
It's interesting to me that the stuff, and I think you just said like making like political statements is sometimes seen as a bad thing in Hollywood. And you see it, like people say like, I don't want to hear I just want my movie stars to be my movie stars. And I just want my people on my TV to be my people on my TV, but we're people. And to me, the stuff that I push honestly isn't political. Like giving people a fair wage, giving people access to healthcare, giving people a good dignity of life, making sure that people have enough to eat, making sure that kids have good access to education and educational tools, regardless of how much money you make or what your background is, like where you come from, what race you are, what religion, what your gender is, what sexual orientation you have. Like you are a human being, you get to have this basic quality of life. You get to like have that. That to me feels insanely American in like the way we talk about like America being founded, like life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, like that. If that's where we're coming from, if that's the kernel and seed, like that it feels funny to me that is so political, but it is. It's so political to make these statements. And I get pushback from people that I know a lot of the time too, who are like, family or friends who have different ideologies than I do. I think my Enneagram 7 or my Catholic guilt or my ENFP, whatever it is in me.
You're an ENFP, same here.
Yeah. I bet you're secretly a type 7, James, even though you test as a 2. I'm going to guess because you and I are pretty similar. But I also like feel too much stuff, and like I feel a lot of guilt seeing people living in bad ways. So I can't not, I think like putting something on Instagram is like literally the least thing I can do. It's like the least thing I can do to be actionable, right? I'd rather be in the streets. I'd rather be like, when it's safe, like getting back to in-person working with people and stuff. And I wish that I was friggin' Jeff Bezos with billions, because I would give it all to the dang LA food bank. We'd have caviar in the dang boxes for people. Like I just like, I wish that there was more ways I could dip my hands in, but like asking people to donate to the food bank feels like the least I can do. And posting about like unhoused residents getting kicked out of where they've built a community feels like the least I can do, especially for those people who aren't able to have a voice. So it feels like the absolute least I could do. And I appreciate social media so much for that aspect of it. I mean, it's killing us in a lot of other ways, but I do appreciate the fact that oh yeah, don't look at behind that curtain, please. It's just, Mark Zuckerberg back there. But it does feel like I get to see other people doing stuff. Like just the other day, James, social media, a woman who's a writer, a TV writer, posted that like there's a health center in an underserved neighborhood in LA that is specifically supposed to be giving vaccines to that community. And they had a lot of open appointments because the people in that community either don't have access to the technology to get them or just didn't know about them, right? Yeah. They're trying to sign up on the county or the state site and it doesn't connect to that health center. So a bunch of very privileged white people came and took those appointments, which is a bummer because that's supposed to specifically serve that community that's under vaccinated and needs the vaccines. So this writer was like, you know what? We're going to just go walk around masked up, hand out flyers that tell people how to sign up and give them a number they can call if they can't access the technology. Because it's in this community, so it's also walking distance. There's no driving to get there. They can walk to get there. It's very accessible, which is huge. And she was like, I don't want people taking vaccines. So she just said, I have flyers. If you can volunteer to go out these 3 days, I'm going to get the flyers printed for you and you'll just hit the streets. We signed up 40 people today. We can sign up more people. And so like, I love that now I'm on an email list. So the next time that comes up, I can hit the streets and hand out flyers and say, this is how easy this is for you to go and get this thing that you need. And that's just community organizing. I also, social media, I had a UCB friend post about he's tutoring students in the LA school district on Zoom. I start my first tutoring session with my student today. And it's all because Curtis posted that he was tutoring. I thought, I'm too dumb to tutor. I'm just an actress. I don't know Common Core math. And he was like, you can do it. You can do third grade math, Lauren, I promise you. And I'm tutoring my student today. It's like social media helped me get all that. So I feel like if I've learned that much from my friends posting, I'm hoping that 2, 3, maybe 4 people can learn the same from my posting and can just go like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was happening. How can I help? Because it's when we all do it together, like if 10 people who listen to this donate to the LA Food Bank, that's $10 extra. And $1 doesn't seem like a lot, but $10 makes a difference and like really makes an impact. And then if they gave $2 each, that's $20. Like when we're all together, we make such a bigger impact.
Yeah,
so that's why I think I post.
Yeah,
a lot.
First off, shout out to that TED Talk, and it was so good. It was so good. It was so good, and I'm here for it. And let's go back to the very important call out that the things that you were talking about are not political, yet they're made political, right? And masks are somehow political, and vaccines are political, and Black Lives Matter is political, and right, like, and then these things are not. It's humanity, right? It's humanity, but we deal with our we like to mask the uncomfortable nature that some of those things cause us, that in ways that kind of look like racism. They kind of look like classism, right? When we mask some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it is, and we file it under political, because then we can talk about it in a way that isn't, it's a completely different thing to talk about humanity than it is to talk about politics. It's easy to talk about politics. So let's hide everything under there. And that'll be the way that we can backdoor, or maybe front door at this point, and get into there. And so
because you aren't saying I'm hurting human beings.
Correct.
If we say like, oh, the left or the right or the libertarians or the QAnon people, like if you put them into boxes of left and right, you're not saying like human beings. Like when you say Black Lives Matter, we're talking about people's lives, human beings' lives. And so like, unfortunately, now BLM is a group and it's no longer humans to a certain sect of people, which is a bummer because it's about human beings, right? It's about like treating human beings as human beings.
100%.
That's it. That's all it is. So like, that's why the all lives matter thing made my head explode, because I was like, but Black Lives Matter means all lives matter. Like that's what it's saying. So let's make sure those lives matter. Do we get it? And so like that just would like make my head explode, because I was like, you missed the point. That's what Black Lives Matter is saying. And they don't seem to matter right now. So let's make sure all lives matter. Okay. And they won't until Black Lives Matter. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're missing the point. And it's also like, you're just looking at the catchphrase and going like, well, my life matters. And it's like, yeah. To you. Sure.
This isn't about you, Barb.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Why didn't you have your order planned before you got to the coffee bar?
Gosh, come on. I mean, what you said is beautiful. And it's like I said, it is awesome to watch the way that you use your platform, because it is, I said it before and I'll say it again, it is a choice and not enough people make the choice. And it is awesome to see that you're doing it. And I agree that yes, sometimes a post on social media is literally the least that we can do, but it is something. And you also talked a lot about, you didn't hit this directly on the head, but there is an important step after hashtag activism, right?
Yeah.
And so hashtag activism, a perfectly fine start, but it's not actual. There's nothing active about it. And so it's more like a very passive form of activism. And yes, it's a start. So thank you for posting a black square, but what are we doing? What uncomfortable conversation have you had, or what have you read recently that made you think differently, as opposed to going along with this trend? And so I love that. And thank you. Thank you for what you do, and we'll continue to do for sure. So that's awesome. We're going to switch gears really quick. We have a little segment here on the show. Do you mind doing a quick segment with me, Lauren?
I love a segment. Let's go.
Hell yeah. We got a segment. It's called Things That You Didn't Know About Me That Are Before, But Are Now Glad That You Did. Lauren, here's what you need to know about the segment. Okay. The segment, the gist of it never changes. The title changes every time, but because that's what matters in marketing is inconsistency. And so we're going to do this segment. You and I are both going to share some random facts about ourselves, and we'll just share a couple, and we'll ping pong it back and forth, and we'll go from there. Are you in, Lauren?
I'm in. I'm ready.
Excellent. So I'll share a pet peeve of mine. Pet peeve of mine is this, and that is, I can't stand when people eat their cupcakes like a sandwich. Now I get it. Okay. I understand you're supposed to rip the bottom of the cupcake off, put it off. It's a little icing sandwich. You don't get messy fingers, but Lauren, the icing is the best part.
Yes, correct.
And so I rip the bottom of a cupcake off. I throw it off a dock and I shove the icing into my mouth. Okay.
That's what I want to do too. The bottom is only for transportation.
It's not here.
It's not for the, it just feels like you're disrespecting the work of the cupcake artist, to be perfectly honest. Cause they could have made made you a cake sandwich, and they didn't. They made you a cupcake. So appreciate that. They made you a cupcake.
Exactly. I'm very similar with this, where I think icing is the best thing. So whenever I eat chocolate layer cake, I perform a little surgery and I cut all the cake part out of the way first, and I eat that first, and I leave like the glorious icing walls to the end, and I eat those last. So that's a little food.
I agree with you that a layer cake stresses me out because the icing to frosting ratio gets off. Yes. And while I love icing, I want the appropriate amount of frosting to cake ratio. So I sort of like scoop out cake and then take the icing from the back, and I like make perfect bites as I eat, but I'm not eating it normal,
whatever normal is.
Yeah.
All right. That's what I got for you. There's a random fact about me. What do you got for us?
I got a pet peeve too. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Toilet paper roll. The tail has to always go over. And if I come to your house and it's under, unless you have a cat, because I know people with cats can't have it over because the cat I will flip your toilet paper.
You're doing it. You're in there like a savage.
I will flip your toilet paper so that it's over the top.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now, are you a silent assassin? Do you do that and not tell anybody? You're just like, I know one day I'll get a you're welcome from them.
Or do you
come out of the bathroom like, let me tell you what I just did.
No, silent, always silent. And then I wonder if people go in and go like, did she flip my toilet paper? Because I will flip it. Unless you have a cat, because I understand people with cats, like the cat will just take it all off the roll that way.
Yep, sure.
But I will flip it. I'm flipping it in your bathroom if it's the wrong way.
There it is.
Important to me.
It is important. And I appreciate that. that. I'm going to share one that is potentially going to be offensive to you based on where you're from, but I want you to stick with me.
Okay.
I can't just eat crab. I can't just eat to eat a crab. I can't eat lobster. I somehow developed some sort of a taste aversion. So I can't just like eat it. And so therefore I don't like crab and I don't like lobster, but I love shrimp. It's weird. I like their little brother, you know what I mean? And so I'm still like, I love Old Bay. Crab cakes are okay. But
all right. I was going to ask. Yeah, okay.
But there's gotta be, but here's the frustrating part is that the best crab cakes in the world, according to crab cake aficionados, are the ones with the most crab. I can't eat the ones with the most crab. And so I like the ones that actually have a more filler ratio. So
wow, James.
That's it. I know you're from Maryland. I needed to have this moment with you.
It's okay. I want to say I really appreciate your honesty.
Your head is in your hands right now.
I'm shocked and heartbroken. I can eat crab in like any iteration. I'm not even from a crabby place in Maryland. I'm not from the Eastern Shore or, Ocean City or anything. But it was like a staple of my life. And we would go to Orioles games when I was a kid, go O's. We didn't have the Nationals back then. So we had Camden Yards tickets and you get crab cakes downtown and stuff like that. So in Baltimore. But I mean, listen, I kind of get it. I love those things. I could eat I'll pick crabs. Now, when you saying like just crab meat, like you don't very often have just loose crab unless you're doing like a crab pick. Is that what you're talking about? Like you don't want to like take a hammer and smash crab and eat it.
Yeah, like growing up in New York, on Long Island, my friends and I would go crabbing, and then
you get a bushel. I
get a bushel, and then you steam them. Got your butter sauce and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm Jimmy chugging the butter sauce, and not really
no crab. I mean, listen, picking open crustaceans is not everybody's cup of tea. I kind of get it. And you know what? If you came to my house, I'd make sure to put extra saltines or breadcrumbs in your crab cake for you.
Bless your heart.
And I always put extra Old Bay because I don't think the recipe I use it's like a teaspoon. And I'm like, a teaspoon? We got to get more in there.
No, that's some white people shit there. Not enough seasoning. You mentioned that you were a big O's fan. Fun fact that I'm wondering if we share it in common. I've sang the national anthem at Camden Yards.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Damn it. I thought we might have it in common.
No, I've sung at Wizards games and Hoyas games, Georgetown games, but never at Camden Yards. Wow, I'm so jealous. That's very cool. I've never been on the field. Oh, I love it. I did an episode of Drunk History that sadly it got canceled before it will air because it got canceled over the pandemic. But Derek Waters, who is the the guy. He is also from Maryland, and he very sweetly, he's such a nice dude. When I did the episode, he got me a signed Brady Anderson ball because he knew I loved Brady Anderson. So I have a little signed Brady Anderson ball. Who Brady Anderson, he still works for the Orioles. He still works for like the franchise.
I would assume he was a franchise player. He was a Yankee killer. And so that's why I didn't like Brady Anderson, but I respected him, but didn't like him.
Such a crush. It's such a crush. We had a Get Milk poster where he was like, had his leg up on a stack of books with a milk mustache, him and Cal. Come on.
He was a looker. He was a good, he was a
James,
he was
a my first like crush where I was like, I love the way that butt looks in those baseball pants.
Baseball pants are legendary for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
That is a fun fact. Brady Anderson, Lauren Adams' first crush. A great start.
That could be my second. Can that be my second fact?
Sure. Yeah.
That's it. That's a good. He is my first like real like kind of sexy crush where I was like, ooh. Okay. A fun fact about. Should I do a third fact?
Hit me with one. Yeah.
I love gross food pics. I love looking at like 50s food, gross Jello molds. I love like when people post a pic of like like they think they're a chef on Instagram and it's just a plate of brown. Like I think that's so funny. I love the show Nailed It for the same reason. Like I love a food fail. I love when people are like, I made this delicious thing and it looks like slop. I think it's so funny. And I don't know why. It doesn't really gross me out. It does, but I love it. I'm like, So if you want a treat, you just search the hashtag Golden Corral on Instagram because the buffet has too many things. So people put together an insane plate and hashtag it Golden Corral thinking it looks so good. And it's just like rice on pizza and you don't know how it happened. I love it so much. It's such a fun treat to be like, that person, why did you make that Golden Corral plate? It's a real fun treat.
And so it's a treat for you. It's not like you don't envy the plate. You're like, yes, give me a plate that's a whole bunch of shades of browns and yellows and whites.
I'm not interested.
Not interested. That's amazing.
I think it's really funny.
That's a fun quirk.
I really love it.
Yeah. I mean, we got people who like their cat memes out here in these streets and their puppies falling and they got I have a buddy who literally just likes to watch people fall. Like I remember I went and visited him in Chicago. He and I did some college improv together and I visited him in Chicago and we went over to Millennium Park and we stood by the ice skating rink. And he's like, I just want to stand here and watch people. And he just giggled like a fool watching people. He's like, I don't like, he's like, when they actually fall, I feel bad for them. But like watching the process of someone almost fall, he's like, he's just dying laughing.
It's delightful. Yeah, I get it.
Everybody's got their thing. Your thing is hot mess food plates.
I love them.
That's awesome. I'm here for that. That's super fun. So, Lauren, let's jump back in. A couple of quick questions for you. Now, you were Gretchen on Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, as you mentioned, great show. You got to work with Tina Fey, which is just outrageous. You know, what does I guess you were what does 20-year-old, 18-year-old Lauren say to I'm on TV in Tina Fey's show, say to that Lauren? Like, I mean, like, is that like crazy? Is that amazing? Or is it like, yeah, we finally got here. We always wanted this.
18-year-old Lauren would probably be like, well, of course. But I think like 26-year-old Lauren would be like, oh my God, you did it. You did it. Like, I think like 18, I had a little bit of hubris and then you get to college and it knocks you down a little bit. And then you move to New York City, it knocks you down a lot bit. And then a lot bit. Yeah. And then I think like by my mid 20s, it was like, I hope I book a commercial ever in my life, you know? And then when you book something like that, you're like, oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's badass.
Yeah.
That's badass. Now you were working, as you mentioned, as a waitress or server, excuse me, and a server, and you did the server life for a long time. You also had some other fun odd end jobs. You and I worked at a place called The Ride for a while, where I freestyle rapped at a moving tour bus while you were actively giving the tour on a preposterous business model that's surprisingly successful. And
is it still going?
I don't know about in the pandemic, but The Ride was definitely still going pre-pandemic.
Wow. I
Yeah.
can't believe it. It was the people who ran it when I worked there with you were terrible. They did a terrible job business
Terrible.
wise.
Yep.
And then I think now it's being run a little less flashy. And so
Yeah.
it's, the overhead is lower and the hosts are getting paid way less and probably the performers too. I
Yeah.
left when like pay cuts started and I was like, I don't mind doing this weird bus tour for $35 an hour, but like 18, no,
Yeah.
thank you. I'll make more waiting tables. Like that was it was like, that was going to get out of me waiting tables. And then when I could make more waiting tables, I was like, oh, this is not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But I remember for me, I had left a job. I worked at a university in New York City and I wound up just being like, I got to get out of here. I worked there for 4 years. And was like, our values are not aligned. And so I applied to a whole bunch of other jobs, didn't get any. And so the ride was how I paid rent in New York City. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I would freestyle rap for 3 minutes at a time, like literally to a moving tour bus, get paid $25 an hour and sit in Bryant Park and talk to Patrick Lovejoy while I was waiting for the next bus to come around. Right. And super, super random, but I'm also very grateful for that random ass bus. And, but the thing is that you had to make ends meet. Right. You had to figure it out while you were chasing what you were chasing. And then you get this badass opportunity. And you're on there with other icons, right? Our other New York City friend, Ellie Kemper. And so like these other incredible folks, the cast is outrageous. And I'm wondering, you have an amazing time while you're doing the show. And then the show runs its course for whatever reasons it ends. And then what is that feeling like right after? What is it feeling like? Oh shit, I was doing something amazing. And now what? Do you ride the high for a while? Or does 7-year-old Lauren get back on the phone and be like, I got to audition. I got to audition. Like what was that experience like for you?
I wish I ever rode the high. I think I rode the high the night I booked the show and then was instantly like, oh, fuck, what happens now? And that's when I started therapy because I was like, you chase the thing so hard.
Yeah.
And then I got the thing and I didn't feel like my life changed because the thing is never the thing. This is the thing, right? Yeah. And so I was putting so much of my self-worth in booking the thing that I was like, once you book it, you're going to not be sad. You're going to feel great. You're not going to be worried about anything. You'll stop fixing stuff. Like life will be made. And then I booked the thing and it was like, oh no, your life is still exactly the same. You just booked a really fancy thing. So I wish I rode the high at all. And I wish somebody had told me like, when you book your dream job, you're going to be depressed because the dream job is not going to solve all your freaking problems. It won't solve any of them except the rent paying problem. It solves that one, right?
Which is big.
So it is big. That makes you feel lighter. But I wish I rode the high at all. I didn't because I was too worried about everything.
Okay.
I was too worried. I was worried about doing a bad job. I was worried about people not liking the show. I was worried about being bad on the show. I was worried about not being liked by my coworkers. I was worried about what was going to happen after. I was worried about what next. Because I was like, oh, I'll book this and then I'll just be a TV star, which is not the case. Like I'm still not. Like I'm still like grinding and auditioning and like people, like I'm losing parts to people who are like, more famous than me or the studio's already worked with or whatever, like I'm still not like just getting offers. I'm still grinding a little bit, which I love the grind. I like doing my work, but it's like I wish I rode the high at all. And I just never did. Sadly. Yeah. I think I had one fun night out at McManus where I felt the high and then it was instantly like, oh no.
Shout out to McManus. I bet the same thing happened when you made a UCB house team, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot. I mean, that's one thing all those individuals who made UCB house teams are always talking about that, where like, it's amazing when you get that phone call, but then it's like, oh shit, I got to get to work.
And it's also not, you think like, okay, I have it made now. And it's like, no, you still have to be good. You still have to like do good shows. You still have to write good sketches. You still have to show up and practice. You still have to like all this stuff. You still have to, your work's not done. So I don't think it ever is. I think that was a big lesson for the Kimmy Schmidt thing was like, oh, I booked like this dream job and I'm not done. I'm not even close to done. I'll never be done.
So knowing that the thing that you were chasing wasn't it. Not that it was. I'm not saying that you're not grateful for what you had. I'm not saying that it wasn't a dream, it wasn't a goal, and that you whatnot. But like you said, like it wasn't the thing. The thing is in here. That's way easier said than done to make that switch. And so like, you're still out here grinding. Have you, how has I guess the role that sacrifice plays in your life changed since you've learned that? Like, do you still sacrifice? Like, is sacrifice still a huge thing where I'm going to put it all on a line and I'm going to drive myself nuts and ebb and flow in and out of depression and anxiety? I'm in a throuple with them. Or like, how has it been, or have you been able to kind of find a piece to the rhythm of what's happening now?
I think both. I think I successfully sometimes get in the piece of that rhythm, and then sometimes I am like in that bad throuple with anxiety and depression, and like, because in this business, you're always kind of chasing a breadcrumb, right? Like, no one ever is going to go like, you should keep doing this. You're definitely going to be a very successful TV actor one day. So just keep going. No one says that. And you go like, oh, okay, I trust that voice and I'm just going to go towards that. You get like little breadcrumbs here and there. So like you like do well in your first improv class, and then, you make a house team, and then you book a commercial, and then you get an agent, and then you get a better agent, and then you book a little under 5. Like, you have little breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're really clear, and it's like you booked a job and that's a clear breadcrumb where it's like, you're going the right way, Lauren, keep going. And those ones are really easy to celebrate. And sometimes it's like, you didn't book this job, but you got really far in the process and it's a really big job for you, and you didn't book it, but you should know that that's, even though it feels like a kind of a shitty, soggy little breadcrumb, it's still a good little breadcrumb for you. You still have to pick it up, right? Even though it isn't a full win, you still have to go like, okay, it's not a full win, but it's still telling me this path is the right path. So like, sometimes you have to like really talk to yourself about like where you are. Because if you just look at success versus failure, it's a lot of failure and it's very depressing. But if I look at where I am compared to where I was, I can see that I'm still going the right way.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It's got to feel kind of cool to say.
Yeah. It's easier to say than feel, but I'm getting there.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to make you sit in it for a second because you just said it and I want you to feel it because it's beautiful. Right. And but that's so hard. I've talked a bunch on this podcast about how I chase legacy. And I frequently have this internal battle inside of me, these two warriors inside of me. One is legacy and the other one is presence. And like wanting to be here in the moment and not missing the moment, but at the same time wanting to be building something, growing towards something. And it's cool to hear you talk a little bit about that for you. I think that's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at this point, as you've done some of this internal work, what has the dream changed, and what would you name the dream right now?
What would I name the dream right now? I would name the dream right now, like, what is like a dream job, or just like,
what's the goal? What are you working towards?
I want to just like have a regular thing. And I feel like, whatever that is, like, I like playing weirdos. I like playing creeps. I like playing not like people who are, I love weird people. I think I'm weird. I think it's fun to like, I think I learned that like in musicals, it's like the pretty lead is pretty, but she's not fun.
Yeah.
I want to play like, I loved Gretchen because she was fun. She was weird and cool and dark and fun. And I loved it.
Yeah. I love it.
I loved it.
You're Elphaba every time, never Glinda.
Yeah. I want to be the weirdo, I do. It's like fun to play the weird person. James, I have to go let a plumber in the house. Is that okay?
My friend Lauren, I was just about to wrap this up. So this is perfect.
Okay,
Lauren,
good, because I have to let the plumber in.
Thank you for being here, friend.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. That was literally my last question. This was perfect timing.
We did it.
You nailed it, my friend.
Really in sync all day. It's our Enneagram 7.
Oh, hey, let's get it. I love it. I appreciate you, Lauren. Thank you so much for being here. Donate to the LA Food Bank, my friends.
Thank you.
And for sure. We will catch up again soon, Lauren. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, James.
Hell yeah. My friends, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Diner Talks with James with Lauren Adams, actress, activist, and just badass human being. Cannot thank her enough for joining. And thank you for joining us. My friends, we're trying to grow this thing. If there's any chance that you might be able to write a review on iTunes or somewhere else, that would be really special, y'all. We're trying to make this thing popping, and the goal is eventually to try to get it to a place where I can pitch it to a TV producer, because I think it would be really special to shoot this live with a few cameras. And so thank you so much for tuning in, y'all. My name is James Robolata, and until next time, y'all, keep punching small talk in the face by asking better questions. You all take care. Be well.